So how did I study in my undergrad primarily, because my grad school was very much project and assignment based. So in undergrad, my first 2 years, I didn't do too well in school, and it's because I didn't know really. I definitely didn't know how to study. At that time, I didn't understand what my learning style was, and if I don't really understand what my learning style is, I'm not gonna understand how do I study. And this might come silly because, like, what do you mean? Because most people who entered university and college already had at least 12, 13, 14 years of schooling experience before them in high school, junior high, elementary, kindergarten, etc. So how do you not know how to study? And this comes from the fact that in your, I guess, less than 18 years, when you're less than 18 years old, the schooling system is a lot different. The schooling system in high school, for example, is really revolved around teachers making sure and keeping track of all their students, that they're succeeding and they're learning the content. And if not, the teachers will come to you on the side, right? And they'll come to you and give you tips, or they'll answer questions directly. So really, that onus and that and the motivation is really coming and stemming from the teachers. If the teacher sees a student struggling, they'll come up to you and tell you, hey, do you need help? Or they'll tell you, like, hey, I noticed you're not doing too well in this section. Let me help you. And they'll give you tips on it. Versus in university and college, the profs are there to just give you the lecture, to give you the core concepts, but you have to do a lot of self-learning and self-teaching on the side, outside of lecture hours. The profs aren't gonna keep track of who is in their class and who's not doing well and why they're not doing so well, and going to them and asking, do you need help? So it's a very different setup. So even if you did do well in high school, there's no guarantee that you're gonna do well in high school and university unless you shift your learning style and you understand how to study well. So for me, the transition really took over 2 years, and initially I kind of followed what my other friends were doing. So a lot of people were kind of recording lectures, re-listening them, reviewing all the slides from head to toe again and again. For me, for my first 2 years, I tried doing that, and it didn't work out for me because I would lose my attention span wasn't that great. So I would lose interest in reading all the slides, very quickly, and I tried recording lectures and I would just fall asleep trying to re-listen to them. So it definitely didn't work. So for me, what I found worked best was active recall. And how I did this was I would write my notes once during class, and I did it in a format so that I can easily print it out at the end of the semester to study. And I would kind of review all my notes and see what I already know. Like, what are the things in my notes from the semester that's already ingrained in me and I already know, and I would just delete them. Because there's no point of having a Word document of notes that's like 20 pages when I already know 10 of the pages. So I would delete everything that was already ingrained in me, and I was confident that I already know the content. And what's left in that Word document are things that I would need to study. So how did I study? So I would print it out, or I would send a copy to my phone, and I would read it over and over again. But I did it in a way such that I had topics, right? So the topic, I would write it in a form of question, and I would read the topic and I would ask myself, how would I answer this? And I would answer it in my head, and then I would read the notes section underneath that topic to see what the answers are and to see how far off I was or how correct I was. And if I consistently did it 2 or 3 times and I got it bang on each time, then I would know to not really have to study that section anymore. And then over the days of hours or a few days, it would kind of dwindle down on, what are the things left that I still haven't really bang on answered, 3 out of 3. And I would focus on those sections, and I would, write notes or write additional comments on my notes so that I would continue to remember. So this process really helped me study, and I know I did a lot better in the later of my second year, and definitely my third and fourth year. This quasi active recall, testing your knowledge, and dwindling down on what's left was really helpful for me, because in one, it gave me the confidence so that I know how much content I knew going to an exam, and two, this dwindling down method allowed me to focus on what needed my attention most. If you already know the content really well, there's no point studying those sections. So it allowed me to focus on the sections that I don't know really well, and it gave me time to research additional articles so I can better understand it, or it allowed me time to kind of memorize that section if needed. So this is the approach that worked for me. But again, back to the to my starting point, was that this really depends on your learning style and your studying style. What worked for me might not work for you, but if what I describe myself is similar to what you think you are too, then maybe this will help. But again, there's a lot of different studying methods on YouTube. There's a lot of people posting videos on how they study. So take a look. If you're not doing too well in university and college, but you did well in high school, it may be a sign that you're just not, you haven't really understand your learning style, and you haven't hit that stride yet. So just keep trying. Don't be too disappointed in your grades dropping either. On average, most students will drop between high school and going to higher education anyways. That's not to say you weren't a good high achieving student. It's just a matter of transition, and it may take some people longer than others. For me, it took about 2 years anyway. So don't be too disappointed if you haven't really been able to study well, or you thought you studied really hard but your grades aren't just showing that. Keep trying other methods. It will take time, but I'm sure you'll bounce back from those mistakes.